While the 1990s proved to be a period of tribulation and relative obscurity for Iron Maiden, they nonetheless continued selling out concerts all over the world to droves of screaming fans. However, the virtually non-stop touring schedule and choice of songs was wearing down vocalist Blaze-Bayley, and between the X-Fac tour and Virtual 11 tours, over 24 shows were cancelled due to his vocal cord problems. Steve Harris was faced with a difficult choice, whether to keep on with Blaze-Bayley, cancelling more shows and risking losing more fans, or should he attempt to filter out the ultra-high register songs that Bruce Dickinson had originally sung, risking further disenfranchisement from the fans as well? Or did he fire Blaze-Bayley, whom he had a good working relationship with, and try to find another vocalist after just 2 albums, who was more capable of singing the operatic style of Bruce Dickinson? Iron Maiden's manager Rod Smallwood suggested to Steve Harris that he give Bruce Dickinson a call to possibly rejoin, in light of the voice trouble with Blaze-Bayley. Ultimately, that call was made, as well as a call to Adrian Smith shortly thereafter, and both rejoined Iron Maiden in early 1999, just before the Ed Hunter tour was to begin. Blaze-Bayley was asked to leave the band shortly afterwards, and that era of Iron Maiden was certainly a creative adventure for the band musically, as well as a platform upon which to mature their overall sound into the new millennium. Virtual 11 was the bookend on that era of the band, as well as on the gauntlet of the 1990s, which produced 4 albums that were just a little bit lacking in some esoteric ways. Today, I shall reveal to you some in-depth analyses of the 90s final release for Iron Maiden, 1998's Virtual 11. And so we meet again, travelers, this time near the end of the 20th century. Iron Maiden was fast becoming legendary, with fan base waning as the Blaze-Bayley era was in full force. The band had to cancel over a dozen shows on the Virtual 11 tour because of Blaze's continued troubles in trying to keep up with the touring schedule, as well as straining his voice to sing the Bruce Dickinson era songs. All of these factors would undoubtedly contribute to his dismissal as vocalist the following year. Focusing on the studio side of things, however, Blaze was still amazing, and I felt a markedly stronger projection and comfort from him on Virtual 11. This album definitely reflects a more positive vibe overall than its predecessor, The X Factor, and as a result it's stronger in the soul and projection of the subject matter of the various songs on it. Blaze's vocals are wonderful on this record, and in the best songs on this album, his passion and ability to get into character for those songs can be felt very strongly. Instrumentally, this album is very different for Iron Maiden, while also having moments where they reach into the vault with their signature sound. In particular, with the more adventurous styles, The Angel and the Gambler, When Two Worlds Collide, The Educated Fool, Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger, and Como Estais Amigos are very progressively oriented tracks and sound like a different band to the untrained ear. That out of the way, it is still Iron Maiden at their finest, and still delivering soulful tunes that speak to the more forward-thinking part of us all. Virtual 11 to me was a springboard by which they vaulted themselves into middle age, embracing who they were at that time and being eager to participate in new changes to come in the future. In gaining more familiarity with the band's entire catalog over the last couple of years, this album continues to grow on me all the time, and I'm glad that I gave it a few more listens than many would have done. Delaying us no more, I will now take a drive into Iron Maiden's final release with Blaze-Bayley on vocals, 1998's Virtual 11. Here you are. Future Real starts off fast. It's got a really cool riff for the main part of the song. Feel the panic and desperation. The verses really convey to me the despair of not feeling like you're a part of things, a part of reality. The chorus is intense and anthemic, and the solos are just shredding. I think Dave Murray did both the solos, including the harmony during the bridge, and really project the confusion of modern life, the technology hemming us in. And on neutral or critical notes, the chorus gets a little repetitive near the song's end especially, and overall the song's just too short. It doesn't seem to fully capture the mood. Kind of has that hobby song vibe to it. So here's the rating. Future Real's final rating is 9.56 out of 13. The Angel and the Gambler. It's got a cool intro and it's a very different sound. And once the keyboards kick in particular, I get the vibe of being on an old gambling boat in the 18 or 1900s, floating down the Mississippi. The verses have a nice anthemic feel to them, and the breakdown during the second half of the bridge, you feel the vibes as he drifts away with his thoughts, doubts about his life, and how he can move on from it. The verse lyrics overall are really good, and it really gets you to think about your life, what you can do to make it better. The chorus kind of has the vibe of the two voices in your head, constructive and destructive, good and evil, etc. And the midpoint breakdown gets quiet. I got the vibe of like the gambler or the devil, so to speak, tries to charm you with pity, like, oh, whimpering, look, little old me. Why wouldn't you want to? I suppose if you don't want to go along with it, kind of feel to it. It really gains ground in your mind by repetition, chipping away at your resolve. The solos in this, after this part, really showcase you wrestling to quiet that voice, agonizing over your decisions while in that state of mind. And the final repetition of the Don't You Think I'm a Savior, with the keyboards hitting the crescendos interspersed with some shredding solos, really conveying that you always battle that side of yourself. It never stops insisting that you take the easy road. And neutral and critical notes, even though there's not very many of them, these things really peg the rating down quite a bit. The chorus, where he chants Don't You Think I'm a Savior, etc., repeats way too much. And I know a lot of people have talked about this, but it really is. I timed it, and it was about 4.5 minutes out of the 9 minutes and 50-some second track length, so it's like half the song. It's a full song length worth of repetition of this same 2 sentences. So it does really peg it down, and it could have been half this length, or 2/3 of this length. Overall, it's just not as strong of a song and not enough projection in some of the other aspects of it because of that repetition. So here's what it gets. And The Angel and the Gambler gets a final rating of 7.55 out of 13. Lightning Strikes Twice. It's got an ethereal intro, really soulful riff, and the keyboard, hi-hat, and bass really working the beat well to accent the mood of this passage and of the song overall. The first half of the verse, beautiful riffing, strong vocals. You can feel that sense of wonder as he takes in the mundane things in everyday life, really seeing them for the first time and pondering them in relation to his own experiences, reflecting upon everything in quiet contemplation. The second half of the verse, where it picks up a little heavier, really showcases the doubt, fear, and panic of trying to cope with the insecurities in your mind. And the breakdown after this, heading into the chorus, really impactful lyrics. There's a lot of soul in this breakdown. The chorus too has a lot of strong moments, really soulful and passionate, and I really like the chorus. The bridge solos, I get the vibe like he's letting everything in his mind come out, trying to weather the storm and the barrage of doubt, worry, fear, and insecurity about his life situation. Neutral or critical notes, it's a very good song, but despite what I said about the chorus, it does repeat quite a bit in the total scope of the song itself, and it's just a little lacking in some subtle vibes throughout the song, but it's not that big a deal. It's still a great song, so there's the rating. Lightning Strikes Twice gets an 11.62 out of 13. The Clansman. The intro has got a nice cool ambience, and it builds up slowly into this sense of peace and contentment, quiet pride and fortune at your surroundings, loving your land, and feeling that strong sense of community with your kin. The first verse, the soft passage, it really reflecting on your freedom, and as it picks up, there's anger as the Scots are being subjugated by the British. The second verse, you can feel the mounting emotion, the anger, desire, pride, and desperation. And the chorus, where they're chanting freedom, has a really strong vibe of the desire for liberty and doing what it takes to get it back. The first part of the bridge, feeling the sadness and resolution to fight to the last, and the second part, as you fight, you're seeing your fellow men slaughtered, kind of the heartbreak vibe. The third part, nice breakdown as the battle is over for now. The bridge verse, you can feel his refusal to succumb, or their refusal, depending on how you look at it. You can feel the sadness on what they've lost, the desperation of their situation, and the build-up into the second half. They're sinking further into desperate battles, losing ground but still not giving up. The frantic riff that they add into the final choruses, where they're chanting freedom, really adds intensity to their desire to stay free. I can feel that really strongly in that passage. And at the conclusion, it kind of dwindles down back into the quieter part again. It's not the end, and their spirit is not going to be beaten down or extinguished. Neutral or critical note, some parts are just not full power, and it just some subtle ways that with the flow of the song could have made it a little bit better, but it's still an amazing tune. So here's my rating. The Clansman's final rating, it is 11.6 out of 13. When Two Worlds Collide. The intro, to me, it's a perfect capture of late-night stargazing in an observatory with the ambience. In the verse, it picks up a little bit as he realizes that the meteor is heading for the Earth, and you can feel the panic, denial, the fear of what might happen. And then after the verse, the build-up, the pre-chorus, as he ponders what's going to result as it hits, and knowing that it's probably going to kill a lot of people and destroy a lot of the infrastructure of our civilization. The first part of the bridge, the riff with the keyboards layered in the background, you can feel the sadness and tragedy. And the second movement of that, there's a tempo shift as the people prepare, is kind of the vibe I got, coping with the fear and uncertainty of what'll happen, the resolve themselves to carry on and survive if there's any chance at all. The solos capturing the edginess of the mood after this with the confusion, but also the determination and courage juxtaposed in there to face the cataclysm together. And there's a chant where he sings "Whoa," and it's many vocal tracks layered, and to me that conveys the solidarity of the people who wish to survive and rebuilding and banding together in spirit to overcome all their adversity. You know, the fear and panic and the destructive people that are surrounding them that are giving into their panic too much and possibly sabotaging any chance of, you know, uniting to restart the civilization. The final shout of the chorus really conveys to me the intensity as they're never giving up, trying to overcome this problem that has been thrust into their lives. Neutral or critical notes, it does carry on a little bit near the end and gets a bit stale with the chanting of the song title, but it still captures the vibes and intensity for the most part, and it's a great song. So there's what I gave it. And When Two Worlds Collide's final rating is 10.93 out of 13. The Educated Fool. The intro, you can really feel the uncertainty as he's turned out into the world without a guidebook, doesn't understand what he can do or doesn't know what he wants to do. The verses have the youthful optimism and a little bit of naivety in the vibe about his ability to survive in the world. As the verse picks up a little bit more into the heavy passage, he gets frantic and desperate as the experiences that he goes through as he's growing up basically frighten and surprise him, and he's still yearning to do more. He wants it all. The chorus is insightful and profound and very soulful. I really like the vocal harmonies that they do in this passage. The breakdown after the chorus, you can feel him making his way through the labyrinth of life, getting bombarded on all sides by everything, being overwhelmed, still fighting back and not relenting in his pursuit of his own life. The bridge solos, the tension mounts, you can feel the vibes in there, and he's still embattled with the woes of the world, becoming frustrated and just flustered in general. The final passages have some insightful lyrics. I really like the final chorus and the reprise of the intro riff tying it all together, and he reluctantly integrates himself into the way of the world, realizing he was misled about how deeply he could impact people and their evils. Neutral or critical notes, the pre-chorus with some strong moments, it does get fairly repetitive. Same with the chorus, especially the chorus near the song's end. Good song overall, but the repetition really pegs it down, and the overall flow is a little bit disjointed and inconsistent, so here as it is. And The Educated Fool gets a 9.29 out of 13. Don't look to the eyes of a stranger. The intro riff really sets the stage for someone who's suspicious of others, almost paranoid, glancing around at everyone, afraid of the monster they might be concealing within themselves, afraid to look them in the eyes. The pacing leading into the chorus and the verses themselves as this paranoia slowly creeps in, the vocals raise in pitch, the tempo kicks in as he is seized by this panic. A really good flow to these passages, and the build-up is awesome. The verse, you can feel the frantic pace as he runs away, concocting all kinds of scenarios in his mind to justify his paranoia, hiding, eyes darting all around. The breakdown after this, into the slow passage, the strings really do a good job building the mood as he reflects and is trying to calm himself down, but the incessant train of thought keeps pounding time in his mind, gripping him in terror, panic, and introversion. The bridge is an awesome passage. I really like this part of the song. Showcases perfectly the flurry of emotional turmoil someone in the grip of a panic attack or with paranoid delusions or trains of thought can run you ragged and be nearly impossible to fend off once they begin. The solos do a great conveyance of the panic and frustration as he continues to try and conduct himself without this fear, or at least not it manifesting so people can see it. The final passage, he's still battling, but hopeful that he can quell enough to live soundly all these thoughts that he has about being suspicious of everybody. Neutral or critical notes, the chorus is repetitive, but at the same time I kind of understand he uses it as a tool to showcase how insistent such a fear can be and how difficult it can be to ignore. It's a great song, just some lacking dimension here and there. Repetition is a bit much, so let's take a glimpse at its rating. Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger receives a final rating of 10.89 out of 13. Como Estais Amigos. It's a great intro, really soulful, mild mood with some somber tones as well, and quiet reflection kind of vibe. The verses are great, really impactful, soulful, charged with a lot of compassion and camaraderie. Just wonderful passages overall. I like this part of the song as just kind of a stage setter for the whole ambience of the track itself. The opening verse especially profound and passionate. The chorus is very powerful, really a lot of depth and soul to that. The strings for the second verse add a little bit of good extra punch. The heavier passage as the memories overwhelm them, trying to remember that even though they fought each other in this war, they're still brothers in this world and they should honor them. The build-up to the bridge is amazing. I tear up when I listen to this passage as I'm belting out the song in my car or whatever, or just listening to it. The superb guitar work, and you can feel the overwhelming sadness, yet a very heartfelt nod to their fallen enemies. It's a beautiful solo, really showing their inner voice, the true men behind all the ego of the world. It's just an amazing part of the song, and this song overall is just incredible. The final verse and chorus of their continued commitment to remember their humanity, to try and stay constructively minded and positive and philosophical about their fellow human beings, even with the evils of the world that they're trying to fight off. Neutral and critical notes, there's just a little bit of repetition of the no more tears and oh passages, especially near the end of the song, and some vibes are just a pinch lacking, but this is still an amazing song. So here's my rating of it.
Como Estais Amigos receives a 10.75 out of 13 final rating.
So there's the track-by-track analysis of Virtual 11. Now we're going to take a look at its average rating as well as its ranking of the 15 studio albums. So let's take a look.
And in conclusion, Virtual 11 receives a 10.27 out of 13 average rating, ranking it 8th out of 15 studio albums.
So there you have it. Little bit better than the X Factor or Fear of the Dark, so they're starting to gain a little bit of ground again, a little more of the esoterics and the more positive perspectives leaking into the projection of the songs themselves. Definitely got a more of a constructive vibe from it myself, and even though The Angel and the Gambler dipped down in so low in the ratings, overall this album is really solid, and even that song with that low rating, it's still not a bad song, other than the repetition. That's the one thing that might get a lot of people, but it's still, overall, it's a good song, and I don't know, it's just very different for them, and I'm glad that they decided to record it, even though it is one of their weaker studio tracks. But we're going to be coming back at you in 2 weeks' time with the reinduction of Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith, 2000 release, their first of the new millennium, Brave New World. And we'll see how that stacks up when we get there. Again, guys, thank you for sticking it out with me here. I know that it's been quite an adventure, but so I felt the only way to really truly express the impact that these guys can have with their music was to do such an in-depth retrospective of each album. So, thank you again. Feel free to comment. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks' time with Brave New World. See you on the other side.